Hi there, everyone. My name is Helenique Argerou, for Woman of Truth, Yinalithia. We used to call this in ancient Greek, but now, for the benefit of all, we speak about the truth that women are connecting themselves back into. And today I'm joined by one of the women that interviewed me a few years ago on her program called KaleidHerscope, which is now a podcast. She's from Cyprus, and she is, in fact, also the woman from South Africa, a sister in deep blood from the deep south, who is writing articles about some of the work that I did in Cyprus years and years ago. And today we have her with us to share the work that she's busy with now, because as a communicator, networker, gender activist, and broadcaster, this lady, Magda Zenon, is a force to be reckoned with. Welcome, Magda Zenon. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Helenique. Thank you for hosting me.
It's really
nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again too, and it's lovely to have a chance to talk with you again. We have little windows of opportunity now where we meet each other spontaneously at some great event or at some conference, and I've really noticed the last while that you won an award for the work that you've been doing, and I just want to congratulate you on what does feel like a lifetime of service to talking about some important issues in the world. Tell us a little bit more about what your work has really been about the last 20 years or so.
Well, I was born an activist. I was born in apartheid South Africa, so being a human rights activist is something that I moved into naturally. I then studied human rights at university, so I got a bit of the theoretical background. I've done a lot of freelance journalism. And activism is just something I've never done as a job, but it's something that's kept me alive. It's something that moves me forward. It's something that brings me, something that really motivates me. I see a lack of justice and I'm there. I see someone not having a voice and I want to find a way to give them a voice or help them find their own voice. So an activist is who I am. It's not what I do.
Beautiful. So nice said. So you really feel the injustice in your bones, in your blood, and some would say that you might be an empath, someone who really feels what other people's suffering is about, and you do something about it, which is what's so special about you. So tell us, what was for you life-changing that actually brought this into being? You say it was since you were born, but I'm looking for a breakthrough or a challenge that you had that turned into a breakthrough that taught you something major, that made you really rethink your life. I'm sure there's a few, often women have many. Maybe you can pick one and tell us about it. What was for you?
I think the thing that really changed my life was the radio. Mm-hmm. I've been doing things on the ground. I've been writing. I've been a freelance journalist. I'd worked on magazines. And then suddenly coming to Cyprus, a few years after coming to Cyprus and being on the board of the Cyprus Community Media Center, they brought in a radio station, a community media radio station. And since I was involved in women's rights, they told me, didn't I want to do a program? And I thought to myself, you know what? The worst thing that can happen is this doesn't work, but why not? I wasn't worried about not having anything to say because I'm a chatterbox. I was worried about being able to contain the conversation. And I started it and I loved it. It was natural to me. It was natural because I like stories. So this was an opportunity for me to firstly connect with local women, but then to broaden my network, personal network, and actually connect with women, like-minded women, my heroes, my sheroes. So to me, KaleidHerscope was a life-changing moment for me. And the more I look at what it's given me, it's what's changed me. It's firstly, every person I've hosted has taught me something. Every time I interview someone, I become a little bit more articulate. I've learned how to become a better listener and to hear the things that aren't being said. So to me, KaleidHerscope was life-changing.
Hear the things that aren't being
down the line, I'm suddenly have this network of women around me, and I'm Magda from KaleidHerscope. So it's something that really fits me like a glove. And I didn't realize it until the opportunity was offered to me randomly.
And before all of that, when you were younger in your life, did you have any kind of challenging moment or experience that really opened your eyes to the world and taught you something profound?
Well, I think living in apartheid South Africa is a challenge in itself.
Right, I agree.
The injustice around you, seeing the injustice around you, driving in the car, and the lady that would help us at home because she was black couldn't sit in the seat next to you. She had to sit in the back seat. Her having to be separated from her family because she was living in and her family couldn't live in the same area as us. So I think that living in South Africa, it's something I've only recently realized, because I've often said to my friends here that I would like to do more field work, and they've all said to me, but you lived field work. You've lived in apartheid South Africa. You've seen the townships. You've seen the passbooks they used to ask them for, that I could travel as I wanted, but they needed an identity document that actually didn't mean anything because it didn't give them the vote and didn't let them travel. So I think that to me in itself was I am an empath, which has its good side and its bad side, but this natural injustice is something that's always been a part of me. Right. So to me, South Africa was a challenge in itself.
Got it. And what did it teach you?
It taught me gratitude. It taught me gratitude because I'm very, very grateful for the fact that I was living in this unjust space and I had it all. But I'm also grateful for the fact that I lived within a family who allowed me to be who I was. So my parents were very concerned about my personal safety, and you having lived in South Africa, but yeah, living there at the time wasn't that easy. It's not safe. But beyond that, they was almost envious of the fact that I could be so free-spirited and so true, honest to my truth. Because that's who I was. I wasn't doing it to get me browning points, because it wasn't. It was just who I was. And I think there definitely was a pride in them. And that to me is a blessing beyond words.
And that's why we have you here, because that truth that you sit in is so powerful and so inspiring to others. And I would love to ask you one more question about the years gone by on that. As a young child, knowing what you know now in the world, what kind of advice would you give your 8-year-old self?
Listen to your inner voice. Because I listened to my truth, and it's the truth I heard then is my truth now. It hasn't changed. But I listened to it and was given the space to listen to it. Mm-hmm. And it was so, as I'd say to my younger self, be a bit more focused. That's one thing I'd say. But listen to your inner voice. Your inner voice never lies.
Beautiful. Tell me, what do you think is the biggest lie that women believe?
That they're second best.
If I could, I will be proving it to the group, but I was going to say, if I could prove to the listeners how much that resonates for most women, it would end probably all need for asking the question. And that's my aim, is to actually ask it enough times to see how many variations of the same answer I get. And it's quite profound, because really the fact that it still shakes us and it still leads to all the self-deception that women go through before they break out of it is quite shocking in a way. So what do you think the truth is?
Shocking. What do I think?
What do you think the truth is?
The truth is something that allows you to sleep at night.
So
if I can do something, if what I'm doing is, if I can do what I'm doing and still sleep at night, that's my truth.
So if we go back to the previous one about believing that we are second best, the truth is that we are...
The truth is that the structures of society have actually convinced us that that's okay, that we are second best. We've got to break the structures. There's social contract that have convinced us that we've got to be at home looking after the kids, or that men, if you look at the Cyprus conflict, that men will solve the Cyprus conflict. Yeah. That the structures have convinced us that, so we've got to We've got to break the social constructs. We've got to start questioning ourselves as well. Doesn't mean I'm not listening to my truth, but sometimes question yourself, because sometimes you've been told a truth that has been around for quite a long time, and if you rethink it, no, you don't believe it.
Yeah.
So don't assume things. Huh?
Go ahead. Sorry. Yes.
So sometimes it doesn't mean that if you hear your truth, you just stay with it. Question it, test it, play with it.
Yeah, because
Go
some truths turn into myths, and
exactly
come from the myth-making mind. Like they're not really reality, and some of this deception that I think we go through as women is about that, learning how much of what we've been told is true is actually true, and how much is my own inner truth going against the outer truth, and what is the real truth really. So real truth is
if you take a simple thing like body, according to the social construct, I'm technically unattractive because I'm overweight. Now, if I question that, if I don't question that, I am unattractive because the world has convinced me that my overweight makes me unattractive, so I don't radiate anything. If I question what beauty is and how I feel about me, another beauty will come through and I will be very attractive. Am I making sense?
Total.
And when people speak to me, because this is something that we suffer a lot with body shaming, and I always tell people, you know what, I need to lose weight because it's healthier, okay, for my waist, my spine, my knee. But how I feel about being overweight is a completely different thing. I'm gorgeous. I'm good. Two separate issues. So you've got to question a bit what society has forced on you and play with it. But sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. Test it.
Right. There's such a rise of women's events, so many things going on around the world, gathering women, talking about women's issues. Women are really, I think, rising up like never before, even though we've been busy with this for over a century already. Can you give me your opinion on it? So you are an on-the-ground field worker, activist, talking to so many women, lobbying for more involvement by women. For those who are watching and don't know, Cyprus is in a conflicted state between Turkey, which has occupied some land, and the Greek Cypriot people who are on the other side of the island. And there is a lot of debate about how involved women are in peace treaties and peace talks. And I know for you, Magda, I raise the issue now because it's one of the areas that you're very active in discussing and helping to transform. So given that example, we then know that there's also a lot of new discussion around how involved women need to be and become in order to start taking different decisions for society, for the world, for world issues, for local issues, community issues, all kinds of issues. And that decision power till now still remains in the hands of men because of the gender inequality that we experience. So painting that context, knowing that you now live in Cyprus, you have the South African background, you go internationally, you won an award internationally also for your work. You meet loads of women that are from so many different cultural backgrounds, and you are a woman that has now lived, let's say, half your life, if not more, and you've seen enough. You've seen it go around, right? You're part of that 60s, 70s child already. So you're seeing the second one kind of coming now. What would you add to it? What do you have to say about it? And what would you add to this momentum that's happening around women in the world?
Well, I tell the young woman, the game ain't over. Because I think a lot of the young women assume that everything's in place, and it's not in place, okay? It still needs to work, and we see what's happening in America. We see the infringements of sexual and reproductive rights and stuff like that. So the game ain't over, so they've got to keep on fighting the good fight. And I also think they need to remain engaged, because what I've noticed in Cyprus, which is with its problems, is that for some reason, peace building is not considered something we should be doing every day. Mm-hmm. Everything we do every day is part of building peace, okay? Whether it's at school, in my family, on the road, it's building peace. So we've got to look at peace building as a broader concept than just signing a peace agreement.
So we're all involved in creating peaceful.
We're all involved. Everything we do, we're all involved, and everything we do affects peace in some way or another. So we've got to take a far more active role in what we are doing and join the dots. If I'm doing education, that's peace building. Better education means better kids. It means healthier kids. It means a more sustainable community. Healthcare. If I've got access to healthcare at every level, it means, again, a healthier community. So we've got to all not assume that we must step out of the box. The box is the world. We've got to connect the dots, be interested, be engaged, and and as I said, continue fighting the good fight.
Right. So it's not
be part of the collective. Yes, it's not over. And remember, you're part of a collective. You do not live alone. Part of a family, you're part of a community, you're part of a neighborhood, so always think collectively, because if I'm not good, a lot of the time I get criticism about, but you're okay. But no, I'm not okay. If my sister in Pakistan is being beheaded or forced to marry at the age of 12, no, I'm not okay. We're a community. And everything is interrelated. So we've got to fight the good fight every day. And in that way, keep each other healthy.
What would you say about the situation now in peacekeeping around the world with regards to women? Where does it stand? Where do you see the status quo now, and what do you see needs to happen? What can women do if they are watching in different parts around the world and they want to be more involved? What can they do?
Well, they can be more involved. The first thing we need to remember is that in a lot of conflict is preceded by certain warning signs. Women are usually aware of those warning signs because they're in the family. They see a change in behavior in the sons, a change in behavior in their daughters, a change of behavior in how much money is in the household. So be on alert. As I said, fight the good fight. Talk to the people around you. Keep the channels of communication open. Be aware of what's happening in your society. Care enough about your neighbor so that they can care about you. Mm-hmm. All about being aware. And whether you stay in a poor neighborhood in the middle of nowhere or you're in the city, everyone can contribute to keeping or sustaining peace or ensuring that if conflict does break out, it's minimal. Mm-hmm. We all can contribute. It's not one person's fight. It's all of our fight. It's all of our well-being. So we've got to remember we're a collective and we've got to fight the good fight.
So when you tell us now about what you're most interested in and what you're most passionate about at this time in your life, can you also just share with us what is some of the highlights of your work on KaleidHerscope interviewing women around the world, and what would you say is one of the most powerful teachings that you got from doing that work so far? And even now, as you're going on to podcasting, looking at the whole scope of that and whatever else you're passionate about, tell us about that. But let us know also highlight from all that work that you've done.
Well, what KaleidHerscope has taught me is that this middle-class white girl from Johannesburg, apartheid South Africa, made it to Buckingham Palace this year because of my peace-building work, okay? So to me, there's nothing you cannot do if you're focused and you're passionate. Mm-hmm. I've learned that every person has taught me something. Everyone can teach me something, and I can teach everyone something. So a lot of the time you'd say, I've interviewed Eve Ensler of the Vagina Monologues, an awesome, passionate human being. I've interviewed Jodie Williams, she's won a Nobel Prize, and I thought, I'm having a conversation with this person who's won a Nobel Prize. And we had people in common, we had ideas in common. She learned from me and I learned from her. So it was a real leveler for me, that this awesome human being who's my hero, she still is my hero, is someone I can sit at the table at or at this fireside and have a conversation and learn from and teach. So to me, the highlights of the thing that I've gone from being some ordinary middle-class white girl to getting to Buckingham Palace and to the United Nations. A year ago, I spoke at the UN. So to me, if you focus and if you follow your passion, there's very little you cannot achieve.
Beautiful. So what are you most focused on now, Magda?
Well, there's a lot of regional mediation networks forming, women mediation networks. So we're very focused on trying to transform the way conflicts are handled, because these men are not doing a very good job about sorting out the conflicts. And I don't think it's the men per se. I think the structures are so stuck of trying to sort out conflict. I think these networks will hopefully cause a shift. So that you're not looking at things in one way, you're looking at it in different ways so that things can be sorted out, not monodimensionally, multidimensionally, at different levels, at different speeds, in different communities. So to me, peace building is my journey.
Beautiful. So excited hearing you at the front line, fighting the good fight, helping us all remember that we have a contribution to it all and that we're all connected, and that's why we need to remain engaged. So I leave you with a chance to share with us 3 words. They can either be connected or they can be separate, but they're statement words or power words that give us a sense of you and your wisdom in 3 captured, contained ways. And then tell us why you've chosen them so we can also remember you through them.
Active listening, okay, because I think everyone's got a story to tell. Mm-hmm. And stories, you know this as well as I do, stories are a treasure trove of everything. Mm-hmm. You learn so much from stories. Healthy. You've got to stay focused on keeping your body and your mind as healthy as you can. Sometimes nature's not that kind, but at least keep yourself as healthy as you can, and positive. I think the thing that's kept me balanced and afloat is the fact that I always look at the positive in things, even if bad things have happened to me. And I'm fortunate, very, very bad things haven't happened to me. Or perhaps I look at them as not being very bad because I was taught to always look at the good in things. So a positive perspective is always, always helpful.
Beautiful. Active listening, health, and positivity. Thank you so much, Magda Zenon. Let us know how we can support you more. We can put everything on the box on this video interview and get in touch with you, support the podcast, listen to the amazing people that you're speaking to, and also know that there is a way to get more involved. So thanks so much for your time, and we wish you the best.
Thank you, Helenique, and remember, fight the good fight.
Thank you, Magda. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.